Welcome to this first video about figured bass. I'm Richardus, a musicus practicus, and my job is to help you to learn Renaissance music theory and to discover all the secrets about early music. In this first video of a long series about figured bass, I show you the first chord, the third and fifth chord. But first of all, what is figured bass? Figured bass is a bass line above or below which are indicated some numbers that indicate the harmony and the contrapuntal situation that we have to play at the keyboard, improvising them. So when we play harmony at the keyboard, we usually play with the left hand only one note, the bass, and with the right hand we play the harmony. We harmonize the bass playing usually three notes, because the harmony we usually do is a four-part harmony. So we have one note with the left hand and three notes with the right hand. Now, let's see the third and fifth chord. The third and fifth chord is the most simple chord. It is composed of a third and a fifth. This is why it is called third and fifth chord. We must calculate the interval starting from the lower note, in this case C. There are four species of this triad. It is also called triad because it is composed of three notes: the first, the third, and the fifth. So we have four species. The first species is the major chord, the major triad. It is composed of a major third and a perfect fifth. The second is the minor triad. It is composed of a minor third and a perfect fifth. The third is the diminished triad. It is composed of a minor third and a diminished fifth. And the fourth is the augmented triad. It is composed of a major third and an augmented fifth. So we have four species, four types of the triad, of the third and fifth chord, of the third and fifth chord. We usually only use the first and the second, because the third and the fourth are very dissonant, and in the first exercises we will not use the third and the fourth type of this chord. As I said before, in an harmony realization, I play with the left hand only one note, the bass, and with the right hand three notes, the harmony. So we in this example see the triad in 3 different positions, because I have to say to you that we can have a triad in 3 positions. The position is the relationship between the bass and the upper note. In this first example, between the bass and the upper note, we have an octave, because we have C at the bass and C also in the top voice. So this is the octave position. In the second example, if we look at the relationship between the upper voice and the bass, we have a third. So this is the third position. As you can see, in the bass we have the C, and in the top voice we have the E. In the third case, we have another position, the last position, the fifth position. Because between the bass, that is C, and the upper voice, that is G, we have a fifth. And it is called fifth position. So we have 3 positions: the octave, the third, and the fifth. And how can we know which is the position? By reading the relationship between the bass and the upper voice. As I said before, in harmony realization, we usually have 4 notes, but the triad is composed of only 3 notes. It means that we have to double one of the 3 notes of the triad. It's very important to remember to double only the bass. In these first exercises, we must double only the bass and not double the other intervals. It's forbidden. Because, as we are going to see in some minutes, the bass is the note that gives us the perfect situation to not do errors in moving parts. So we have 4 voices. The 4 voices are called cantus, that is the upper voices, the altus, that is the voice below the cantus, and the tenor, that is the voice that is below the altus. And as the last voice, the bastus, that is the most important voice for us, because the bastus gives us the harmonization, the harmony, the bass, the fundamental line. As I said, it's very important to double the fundamental, the bass. So in this example, I have the G in the bass and another G in the tenor. In the second example, I have another G in the bass, we only have G in the bass, and another G in the cantus. In the third example, I have the G in the bass and another G in the altus. So all the 3 examples of the first part are correct. In the second part, between after the 2 lines, I can see that at the bass I have the G, but it is not that G that is doubled. But in the first example, I have 2D. In the second example, I have 2B. So At this moment, at this time, when you start to learn harmony and to harmonize a bass line, you mustn't double other notes that are not the bass. Now let's see the most important thing about this video. It is the movement of the parts. So in a bass line, when I have to pass from a chord to another, from a note in the bass to another one, I must know all the rules that let me to do this. And we must to divide this situation, this thing, in three cases. The first case is when the bass moves by leaps of third and sixth. Third and sixth leaps. In the first case, as you can see, we have two common notes. This is the thing you must remember. Two common notes. Look at the first example. The bass sings C and E. That is a third interval. So in the right hand, in the harmony, I play E, G and C, and E, G and B. And the common notes are E and G that are in the same voices. So the most important rules of this harmony realization in the first examples and in the first exercises is to keep the common notes in the same voices. In the second example, we have F and A, that is a sixth lip, descending, and this is ascending. The before example was an ascending lip. In this lip, it is a descending lip, we have a sixth relation, but it doesn't change because the sixth is the inverse of the third. So also in this second example, we have two common notes. In this case, we have the C and A. And C and A, C is in the upper voice and A is in the altus, are in the same voices in the first and in the second chord. In the third example, we have a descending third lip. And we have two common notes, also in this case, that are B and G. And they are in the same voices. In the cantus, we have the G, and in the tenor, we have the B. So, when we have a third or a sixth lip, we have only two common notes, and we must to keep the common notes in the same voices. The second case is when we have a fourth or a fifth lip. With fourth and fifth lips, I have only one common note between the two chords. So one common note. And also in this case, I must to keep this note in the same voice. Let's look at the first example. We have F and C, that is a fourth, a descending fourth. The common note is C, and we have the C in the upper voice. We have to keep the C in the third and in the second chord, in the cantus, that is the upper voice. In the second example, we have an ascending fifth lip. And we have to keep the common note, that is E. In the tenor, this is not a smile. This is an E, and this is another E. In the same voice, in the tenor. In the third example, it's the same thing, because we have a fifth descending lip, and we must keep the common note, that is sorry, A, in the same voice. This is the second case, the second situation, when I have a fourth or a fifth lip in the bass. In the third case, that is the last, I have the situation when the bass moves by step. So a stepwise bass. What I have to do in this case? In this case, I have no common notes, quindi. So I don't have common notes, 0 common notes. So I must do contrary motion. For example, in the first case, I have an ascending stepwise bass. So all the voices of the right hand of the harmony, of the harmonization, must do a contrary motion respect of the bass. The cantus descends, also the altus and the tenor. In the second example, we have a descending stepwise bass. Also in this example, in this situation, the other voices must do contrary motion. So the cantus goes up, also the altus, and also the tenor. This is the third case. So these rules are the most important rules of harmony, because all the other rules come from this. Because this is the most simple situation we can have with all the three cases. So, but how can I indicate this chord in a bass line? The indication of a third and fifth chord can be with all numbers, the third, the fifth, and the octave, 3, 5, 8, can be with only the 3 and the 5, or can be more simply with only the 3, or more simply can be without anything, without any indication. I play this chord, the third and fifth chord. In some cases, I can find a particular indication in which I have all the three numbers, but in a different order. In the first example, we have the 3, the 5, and the 8 in the upper voice. In the top number is the 8. When it is indicated all the numeration, it may be that I have to play the chord in this order. So in the upper voice, I have to play the octave. Another case can be the second, when in the upper voice I have the 3. It may indicate that in the upper voice I have to play the third, so in this case the E. And the third situation is when I have the 5 as the top number, so it means that I have generally to play the fifth in the upper voice. Think that when you meet all the indication, all the numbers, it usually means that the composer wants this, because all the indication, the complete indication, is an externation, an explicitation of the volunty of the composer. Now let's see the last topic of this video. So the alteration. When I meet an alteration that can be a sharp, a flat, or a natural scene, flat, sharp, and natural scene, and the alteration is alone, so I meet the alteration alone without any numbers, it means that the alteration refers to the third of the bass. So let's see the first example. In the bass I have an A, and the third is a C. So the C in the harmony realization is sharp. In the second chord I have the sharp above a D. So which is the third of the D? It's F. So the F is sharp. In the second case, we have the same example, the D with the sharp alone, so the F is sharp. But in the second note of the bass, we have a flat alone above and G. So this G, this sharp, refers to the third of this G, that is the B. In this example, in the third example, we have a natural scene on the C. The natural scene on the C refers to the third of the C, so to the E. And this E is flat in the key. But with this natural scene, it becomes natural. In the fourth example, the natural scene refers to the third of A, that is C. So the C is the natural C, is with the natural C. In early music theory, I can say also to you that the real meaning of the sharp is mi, and the real meaning of the flat is fa. This is a situation of solmization, because in solmization, that is the technique of music reading that had been used since the 11th century until all the 18th century. The flat is fa and the sharp is mi. The natural scene depends if it is a flat that becomes sharp, or as in this example, or a sharp that becomes a flat, as in this example. If you are interested on this topic on solmization and you want to learn solmization as a real 16th century musician, I've created the first video course at World about solmization. It is available in Italian and in English. Link in description. Now let's see another case when I meet a sharp or another scene, another alteration scene with a number. In this case, the sharp refers to the number. I can also meet before the number and after the alteration. It is the same meaning. In this case, the sharp is on the number, so B, the fifth of B, is F, that becomes sharp. In the second example, I have the fifth with the sharp and the sharp alone. The sharp alone refers to the third, so in this case I have the third and the fifth with the sharp. So the double indication refers the sharp alone to the D and the sharp with the 5 to the fifth of the chord, so the F. Well, in this part of this video I have been explaining you all the rules of the basic rules of harmony. So now is the time to do our first exercise. So now let's go to the keyboard and let's play the first exercise of all the exercise that Georg Friedrich Händel wrote for the princess Anne. Let's go. Now let's do our first exercise. This is the bass. Before doing our exercise, we must to look in the key what we have. So we don't have any kind of alteration in the key. So we are or in C major or in A minor. In this case, because the bass starts and finishes with C, we obviously are in C major. Now let's start in the octave position. So we have the octave in the upper voice. So C in the bass and another C in the cantus. This is the first chord. Now remember all the rules I've just explained you. Remember that the most important thing in these exercises is to keep the common notes in the same voice. And other notes must go to the near one of the next chord. So let's play the bass alone. Now let's do the first and the second measures. Okay, let's see. Between the C and the G, we have a fifth ascending lip. So we have one common note, that is G. G is the common note in the altus in the first chord, and it must be the altus in the second chord. In this way. I play with arpeggios because I think that is better for you. This way you can listen to all the voices, all the notes. Now, between the second note, the G, and the third note, the E, we have a third descending lip. So we have two common notes, the G and the B, that are in the altus and in the cantus. So the G and the B are still in the same voices. When you do your first exercises of bass harmonization, ask to you which are the common notes between the two chords I am playing. In this way, it is impossible to you to do any kind of mistake. In this way, it is also impossible to do parallel fifths and parallel octaves that are big mistakes. For this time, remember only the rules I explained you. So let's do all the exercise. But before, let's see in the measure before the penultimate measure, I have the bass that moves by step. So let's see the situation. Here I do counter emotion. So another thing you must learn is that use your hand as another instrument. So your hand must learn all the positions. This requires practice, more a big practice. So at this time, look at the keyboard, think notes, common notes, listen to all the voices, and pay attention on the common notes. They are the perfect way to learn harmony in a correct way at the keyboard. So let's start. Look at the bass. We have in the 1, 2, 3, in the fourth and the 5, and in the fourth and the fifth measure, three steps, 3 notes that move by step. Look at the right hand. Contrary motion. Now let's do the same exercise, but this time starting in the third position. For some exercises, I'll do all the positions. I start with all the positions. It is not necessary for all exercises, because one time you can do an exercise starting in the octave, and another time and with another exercise you start with the fifth position. I don't think you have to do all the positions for all the exercises. At this time you can do this. So this exercise, I do this exercise in all the 3 positions. This is our first exercise. In this way you can learn how to do in a correct way. Well, now let's do the same exercise, but starting in the 5th position. So we have the G in the right hand in the top voice. Well, this is our first exercise. What can you do the exercise? So take only the bass and do only this exercise. Do it in all the 3 positions, and then you can look at my realization. That I think that it's not only mine, but it is only possible realization using all the correct rules. So thank you for your visualization. I hope that this video has been useful for you, and remember that if you want to download the PDF of this video, of the lesson, and all the PDFs of my video, you can subscribe the membership Semi Brevis on my Patreon, because with this membership you have the access of all the PDFs of all my videos. If you want that I correct some exercise you will send to me, you can subscribe the Brevis membership. So thank you for your visualization, and see you in the next video with another exercise. Bye! Do you want to download the PDF of this video? Subscribe the Semi Brevis membership on my Patreon and have the access to all the PDFs of all my videos. Moreover, with the Brevis membership you can also send me your exercises and harmony realizations, and I'll correct them for you.